What is up, Steelers Nation? Thank you so much for jumping on to another episode of All Steelers Talk. I'm No Zack Banner, joined always by my main man, Jacob Punturi. Find us on youtube.com/All Steelers Talkers. Subscribe anywhere you get your podcast. The Pittsburgh Steelers are 1-0, leaving East Rutherford, New Jersey, and heading back to the Steel City in what was the craziest game, maybe outside of Buffalo, Baltimore last night in week 1 of the NFL season. In a way, none of us, and I mean none of us, saw coming. We spent months talking about the Pittsburgh Steelers being a ground and pound. Aaron Rodgers isn't going to win it all for them. This is the defense. Jalen Ramsey, TJ Watt, Minka's gone, Joey's here, Deshawn Elliott, Cam Hayward's contract, Alex Highsmith, Patrick Queen, the evolution of Peyton Wilson. I could keep it going, but I won't. This was not an Aaron Rodgers team until he stepped on the field at MetLife Stadium and showed everybody, as the New York Post said this morning, he can still play. Aaron Rodgers is here. What does it mean for the Pittsburgh Steelers? How do they address the concerning parts of both the offense and definitely the defense? And, well, how far can this team go after just one game? And are we overreacting a little bit? Maybe. But I think I am as fired up as everybody else was as Jalen Ramsey seals it after a game to remember from good old number 8. My friend, it's a good one here in good old East Rutherford, New Jersey. I'm hopping on a plane in a little while, heading back to the Steel City, where I know the sun is shining. I know things are good and bright and beautiful, and everybody's optimistic about the future. How are you feeling, my friend?
It's a victory Monday, brother. How can you be bad? I took a hot girl walk in your honor this morning. It was a nice, chilly, brisk morning, but you could feel the warmth from the Steelers' victory overshadowing it all. It's a great Monday morning. It's an excellent day to be a Pittsburgh Steelers fan. And I think this, like you already mentioned, yesterday did not go at all like I anticipated. But boy, oh boy, one thing I can say for sure, this is going to be an entertaining season, regardless of the win or loss result. Because yesterday was the start of it, and man, that was the most exciting week 1 Steelers game that I can remember.
Ever. I think maybe ever. Like, the Pittsburgh Steelers came out, and I was talking to, and I won't call him by name because, you know, I don't want to do that to him just in case. But I was talking to a player yesterday in the locker room, just you know, kind of joking around. And I said, dude, I'm going to be honest. Like, I love watching every Steelers football game as everybody else does. I was like, but this was the most fun I've had in a long time. And he looked at me and said, this was the most fun I've had playing football in years. I was like, yeah, it was crazy. The Pittsburgh Steelers are here in a way that none of us saw coming. You know, we all saw the defense being good. They weren't. They got manhandled up front. Joey Porter, Darius Slay, Jalen Ramsey, Deshawn Elliott, Juan Thornhill was not the elite secondary that we thought they were going to be coming into the season. Oh, Jalen Ramsey, maybe, or Jalen Warren, maybe he's going to be fine. Kenneth Gainwell is the feature running back in Pittsburgh, apparently, and I don't know when that happened or if it's going to stay, but it's where we are. The offensive line, outside of one piece, looked just enough okay, and Aaron Rodgers, my friend, I think it was the coolest thing and the most undervalued thing of what Aaron did yesterday was getting to watch him play action, turn around, and have 3 guys in his face and be able to say, there's Calvin Austin, I'm going to give him the football. That is something the Pittsburgh Steelers have not been able to see or enjoy or incorporate into their offense in so long. And it's here. Let's start with Aaron, the guy. Do you ever see the meme? The football player who goes through, he's like, oh, Billy the kid, dog. James, dog. This kid, dog. You know what I'm talking about?
I'm with you.
All right. Let's go through them here. Calvin Austin, dog. DK Metcalf, dog. Jonnu Smith, dog. Jalen Warren in the pass game, dog. Who am I missing here? Pat Freiermuth on third down, dog. And Skowronek, dog. Aaron freaking Rodgers, dog. What the Pittsburgh Steelers offense did yesterday was show the entire world that all they needed was a quarterback. Arthur Smith needed a quarterback. There were 2 years of conversations, a year and a half of conversations about if Arthur Smith is a good offensive coordinator or if he is terrible, washed up, and he's got nothing going. Well, maybe his time in Atlanta didn't go well because Tyler Heineke and Desmond Ridder were his starting quarterbacks. Maybe his time last year didn't go well because Russell Wilson was able to do one thing that didn't work in New York yesterday either.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe he needed Aaron Rodgers to say, oh, I have 11 tight ends. I'm going to make sure all of them are utilized. Oh, I have one ridiculous wide receiver in DK Metcalf that proved in about 3 seconds that George Pickens was a wide receiver 2 and not a wide receiver 1. Oh, great. I could utilize him to his fullest capacity. Oh, Calvin Austin, overlooked in the NFL? Yes, sir. I got it. No worries whatsoever. And all it took was Aaron Rodgers. I just went on a long-winded rant because I could keep going for days, my friend, about how impressed I was on the offense as a whole, but the passing game in a way that just said this offense is able to get guys open, wide open. Ask Ben Skowronek and everybody who just retired off of being able to bet him first touchdown of the season. And all it took was having a guy capable of, again, playing play action, turning around, having guys in his face and being able to find the open receiver, having a quarterback that is able to manipulate the pocket, avoid pressure when needed, and not in the best way, but still in a way good enough to find the open guy and to be able to know when and where to look and how to get the football to them. Aaron Rodgers is a dog, my friend. He is still him, very much so. I mean, I'll give you the floor here. You watched yesterday like the rest of us, and I know you smiled the whole time. Take me through it. What were you thinking? What's your thoughts on good old Mr. 8, the 41-year-old who 6 months ago was terrible? Today is still one of the greatest quarterbacks of all time.
It is. I love being wrong when it comes to the Pittsburgh Steelers, and one thing I did not anticipate in this opening weekend matchup was for the passing game to be not only efficient, but the best part of the entire Steelers game, both sides of the ball. It is something that I just did not see coming, not because I thought Aaron Rodgers was not up to the challenge, but just because I was so unsure of everything else surrounding him that factored into the equation. And what Aaron Rodgers does is he balances out those sort of negatives in such a demonstrative way. You look at this, he was able to spread the ball out, something that we talked about is a potential positive that Aaron Rodgers brings to whatever offense he's in. He's able to find receivers throughout the field. He goes through progressions in such an elite way, especially compared to someone who is like a Justin Fields, who really struggles to find the open receiver after the first progression there. I think what Aaron Rodgers does is he just is so calm. He's so poised in the pocket, and all of the issues that arose within the offense yesterday were not from, his play under center. That is for sure. He was able to spread the ball out to make Calvin Austin look like a legitimate wide receiver 2, make Pat Freiermuth and Jonnu Smith feel like featured players in the offense, and to keep going back to the well with DK Metcalf, because there was an early miscue, right? There was an early drop by DK Metcalf. There was a couple of zingers that Aaron Rodgers was firing in there that were missed, but the completion percentage was, I believe, above 70% yesterday from Aaron Rodgers. And so he kept going back to the well. He kept feeding his players. He kept fueling the offense. And that's something that the Steelers just have not had from the quarterback position over the last several years. They've had spurts of it. They've had fits of good quarterback play, of strong quarterback play, and then it just kind of falls to the wayside. The challenge now is, can Aaron Rodgers keep this up at that same level for 16 more games, obviously? But the first taste of that, boy, oh boy, that is a special quarterback play that they are getting from Aaron Rodgers this year.
It is crazy, and it removed instantly the desire, the worry of wide receiver 2. Do the Steelers have a wide receiver 2? Terry McLaurin, Chris Olave. Dude, I mean, Calvin Austin made Chris Olave plays yesterday. Calvin Austin made a catch along the sidelines that I went, that guy's not 5'6", you know, the guy who just caught that football, that's a big boy right there. That is not a 5'6" receiver. Ben Skowronek being as open as it is just shows you don't need a wide receiver too. Benny Sko's wide open. You know what I mean? Who cares? What's the difference between him being wide open and Terry McLaurin being wide open? Either way, they're catching the football and they're getting first downs. That's what it eliminated. There are worries that came up. Broderick Jones is the big one. Okay. You wrote about him this morning. The Steelers have to fix it. It's a massive issue. It's a concerning one too. You know, you could go on and on and on about how awesome Aaron Rodgers is, but you also have to address that he took a beating yesterday 4 times. 3 of those sacks were on Broderick Jones. Will McDonald made him look, as you described it, as an unhappy meal, and that was terrible. I mean, I'm very concerned about what's coming. I don't know if it's fixable. I don't know if you have a solution to Broderick Jones, but I'm going to be honest. If it happens in week 2 against the Seattle Seahawks and another good defensive line, you got to start thinking about Calvin Anderson, and you got to start thinking about Andres Pete, and you got to start thinking about other outside options, because you're looking at it going, he's going to get Aaron Rodgers, and the only piece that won yesterday's game killed. That's what he's going to do. And it was glaring right from the beginning that you can't have him out there. How significant of a concern is this? And is it fixable? Like, can you fix this for the Steelers? Or are you just hoping for the best at this point?
It's a big concern. It's a huge concern. It's a panic level concern, and I don't think it's fixable right now, especially in the middle of the season. The Steelers are off and running here. I don't see how a team that is trying to compete for a division title, is trying to win a Super Bowl, is getting maybe a vintage sort of all-pro level season from a 41-year-old quarterback. I don't see how you can fit in the time and space to just wait and see if he fixes it. Broderick Jones, I have watched him work his butt off all summer. It's not a lack of effort. It is not a lack of determination. He has, he's so likable there. I root for him. And I don't say any of this with any sort of like vitriol or contempt for the player. He just has not improved in the key areas where he needs to. He is consistently outmatched by athletic edge rushers like Will McDonald. All Will McDonald had to do was sort of like get him slightly off balanced, and then Jones just could not sort of recover. His hands were out of place, his feet were out of balance, and as soon as that happens, you're done. You're either going to be bull rushed into the quarterback, which we saw happen a few times, or you're just basically a parking cone, and you just get navigated around very easily, by someone athletic like Will McDonald, who is a good player, former first-round pick in his own right. But is he the toughest matchup that Broderick Jones will draw in this season? Far from it, in my opinion. Exactly.
Yeah.
So you can't, again, this team is trying to win. How do you have your blindside left tackle just kind of on an island out there, struggling mightily, and just look at it and say, we'll just figure it out and just let it ride? You have no real options behind him in Calvin Anderson, Andrews Pete, or Dylan Cook, but you also don't have you have no one available via free agency. There's no one you can go get. You would have to give up assets to go get someone from outside of the organization. All that said, it's a problem. I don't think you can go into week 2 and week 3 and beyond with this same situation and be content with it. I think they're setting themselves up for some potential big problems here in a little bit.
I agree. And I think that the Steelers and the focus instantly turns into, oh, you got to go get a wide receiver too. You got to call Gabe Davis. You're checking on, they brought in Raheem Jarrett from the Tampa Bay Buccaneers for a workout, and you're going, they're just getting desperate over here. Instantly switches to Omar better start making phone calls about left tackles. Omar better start calling around the league to say who's available on your bench to make this happen, or who's available not on your bench for a team that's already given up. You know what I mean? Who can you call to say you're not going to make the playoffs this season and you don't really have a quarterback that you really care about? How do we figure out a deal here? What do we have to send you to get your left tackle, which is so difficult. You know what I mean? And I just don't know if it's solvable, but the Steelers have to attempt to solve it. they cannot ignore this, because the further you get into this, the worse this is going to become. And it's over, like, let's not act as if there's no more sitting around to say, Broderick might develop. You got to give him time. It's the left tackle. You got to sit down and be patient. No, we're at a point right now where there are 4 offensive linemen. Troy Fautanu got beat once yesterday, and it wasn't great, but it's his first start in the NFL. Okay, I'm going to give him a pass. Isaac Seumalo had a play yesterday that I wasn't the biggest fan of. But besides that, Zach Frazier, Mason McCormick looked fine. And overall, if you have 2 bad plays on the offensive line, that's a decent day against Quinnen Williams and Will McDonald and Jermaine Johnson. You're not struggling there. Broderick giving up 3 bad plays and others, Broderick left other guys there that didn't turn into sacks. It was just bad throws or being thrown away. And you're past it. We're past the wiggle room, the patience. You have to hit a point where if you're the Pittsburgh Steelers, you have to start making phone calls, and you have to start seeing who's available to see who's out there. And again, I don't think it is solvable right now, but I don't know who's available. You know what I mean? I don't know what other NFL teams look like to say, oh, the New England Patriots have 7 left tackles. Sounds good to me. The way I look at it is the left tackles I know in the NFL are like Chuks Okorafor, and that's not somebody you're calling. The bad teams in the NFL that are already given up are the Miami Dolphins, who I don't even think they have a left tackle, and the Tennessee Titans, whose left tackle is, Dan Moore Jr., and you're not going to get him. It's just, you have to figure out how to solve it. I don't think it's solvable. That being said, Omar's got to get on the phone, and he should be on the phone right now, to be honest, making phone calls and seeing where he could go. Does the running game solve itself if Broderick is better, or is the running game just you got to hope Caleb develops because Kenneth Gainwell and Jaylen Warren are a little too tiny to be running between the tackles like that?
I do not believe it's as simple as Broderick Jones sort of fixing his game. The running component of the offense, for as good as the passing game looked, the running game just looks kind of a mess. I don't really understand what the goal of it is. I really like Kenneth Gainwell. I think, I've talked about him multiple times throughout training camp in the preseason of them finding probably more use out of him than people expected, but I certainly did not expect him to lead the running back trio in touches in general. It seemed like he was on the field the entire game. And I like Kenneth Gainwell, but I think if he is going to be your feature back, the running game probably can't, quote unquote, figure itself out. So I think there just needs to be, the offensive line has to improve, period. Point blank, and maybe that is the solution to this running game situation. But in the meantime, I think there's also this weird usage situation to figure out. Caleb Johnson is a non-factor as far as I'm concerned. Jaylen Warren didn't really look 100% up to speed, or he looked like he wasn't, I'm not sure what it was. But yeah, again, if Kenneth Gainwell is going to be the featured back, I feel very concerned about how effective it's going to be. It can't just be a period at the end of a sentence in terms of the Steelers' offensive game plan. The running game is critical to opening up the play action for Aaron Rodgers. Without that, they just won't be able to sustain this offense that got off to a wildly good start.
Yeah, look at the second that Kenneth Gainwell became obviously running back 1, I was sitting there, and everybody else was too. We were all watching this football game going, that was the move, huh? That's the decision that the Pittsburgh Steelers made today. It was that Kenneth Gainwell was going to be that guy, huh? That guy. And I think Jaylen had moments where it was like, okay, he's starting to pick up steam, and maybe that develops. But I'm going to be honest, you got to get Caleb involved. You have to start it, whether it works or not. You have to put him on the field and just say, you got to try, because that's what they're missing here. Is they're missing the different running back. Kenneth Gainwell and Jaylen Warren are the same guy out on the field doing the same things every single down. Caleb might not work, and I don't have faith that he's gonna right now. I don't have faith saying Caleb Johnson's gonna be a superstar in week 2. But what I'm saying is put him on the field and give him 7 rushes and just see if it works, and don't make those rushes pitches. don't pitch him the football, man. What are we doing here?
Why is that in NFL playbooks? I just don't get that at all.
I don't know. And shout out Caleb Johnson, dude. It was the longest run of the game. It was -2 yards, and he got 15 on it. And that was, it was a huge day. It was a huge play. But I think you have to put him out there and just see just start to develop him. Just see if it works, because there's nothing else holding you back. And then, to be honest, like, Kenneth should be your third down guy, but Jalen's got to be your guy that's out there on first and second down. He's got to be the guy running the football, because you could see Jalen build momentum as games go, and you need that. Like, I like Kenneth Gainwell. Jalen Warren's got break it for 60 potential, and let him try to do that. And if you could develop those guys, I think it works. Again, you're not going to go out looking for a running back, but you have the pieces to try and build this thing. And I think you have to start adding to those pieces. I think you have to start adding where that is. Let's switch it to the defensive side of the football here, because that's the big one. 32 points should not have happened. Okay. Being able to bet the over of 65.5 should not have been an option when it comes to the Pittsburgh Steelers at all, even if Aaron Rodgers and the offense scores 34 points. Should not have been there whatsoever. I don't know how. I'm going to open by saying this. I think that the Steelers faced a running game without Derek Harmon that showed that they are still lacking depth. I think Cam Hayward did not look really good in this game. I think Keanu Benton did not look really good in this game. I think Patrick Queen and Peyton Wilson are totally fine in coverage for the most part, but they are not run-down linebackers. And I sat there the whole game going, Cole Holcomb's not in this game. Why? Why is Cole Holcomb not in this game? Because Cole Holcomb's the guy that's going to go downhill and hit somebody, and that's what you need on this defense. I don't know if the running game is going to be better. I know they have the pieces. They didn't look that good, but to be honest with you, Darius Slay didn't look good either. Joey Porter Jr. didn't look too great either. And Jalen Ramsey makes a couple of good plays for sure, but the defense as a whole, not nearly as good as they should have been. And by not nearly, I mean miles away. I will say that we could talk Broderick Jones in the running game, and I could say my faith is significantly less on being able to fix it. But when it comes to the defense, my faith is still strong that they will. This is a defensive football team with some crazy names on it. I have a feeling that at some point they're going to turn it around. But you watched yesterday, and it was not there. How do you fix it? If you're going from week 1 to week 2 against another good offense, if you're the Pittsburgh Steelers, how are you looking at this and going, all right, these are the adjustments we got to make to be a better defense against the Seahawks at Heinz Field or at Acrisure Stadium?
Well, yeah, I mean, you hinted at one. I think Cole Holcomb is a huge piece of it, because I think the middle of the defense, just from stopping the run and just from sort of where they were allowing passes to be completed, is just not where it needs to be. I want to, Cam Hayward, I was not super duper impressed with. He did deflect a ball at the line of scrimmage that I liked. And I know we had a tackle for loss as well. Like, he had some moments, but especially with Derek Harmon being out, I expected him to be more of the run stuffer. Disappointing performance from Keanu Benton. That was a very prime opportunity for him. I think what I would like to see is a little bit more Cole Holcomb against the Seahawks. I'd like to see a little bit more of rookie Y.A. Black, especially in obvious running situations. Did he look perfect in those few snaps that he was out there? No, but I think, similarly to how maybe Jalen Warren can get going early, and that might be to his benefit, maybe incorporating Y.A. Black into the defense a little bit earlier in those obvious running situations might help to get the rookie going and to be a little bit more impactful. But I think besides that, I think it's just I will give this defense space to settle in a little bit.
Yes,
I think with so many proven pieces, it's not the same thing as we were talking about on offense, where you don't really have the time to wait and see if something develops when there hasn't been that proof before. Contrarily, the defense has shown that they are, they have a bajillion Pro Bowls between all of them. Like, they are individually incredible players. The secondary is a big concern too, especially the safety position, but I think I'll give them another week or two to settle in, maybe get back to their game plan. If we're still talking about this, what by, post London or post Ireland, excuse me,
I was like,
then
we're going to London.
I would love to. Thanks. Post then I think we really we have a serious problem in terms of like this defense just not coming together like it's supposed to. But until then, I think maybe the distractions that have popped up over the summer were just a little bit more effective and impactful on the defense than they wanted to admit. And then we saw how that was exploited by Justin Fields, who's very knowledgeable about the Steelers defense, and a pretty dangerous running back in Breece Hall. So it's worrisome, but I don't feel like it's like panic button worrisome.
No. If Aaron Rodgers threw 4 picks instead of 4 touchdowns and the Steelers lost, 32-12, I'd be like, yeah, no, it's done. It's over because the offense is not going to get better. But I do have faith that the defense gets better. I think TJ Watt and Alex Highsmith looked crazy yesterday. And TJ, TJ sold too heavy on the run a couple of times, but I think that was also an overreaction to the fact that he absolutely murdered Justin Fields early in that one. And it was a play that I was like, oh, that was close, brother. That is, you're right there to getting a flag on that. But I agree. I think Derek Harmon comes back and that adds a massive boost. I think you start figuring out these inside linebackers and that provides a boost. I think, to be really honest with you, Darius Slay is a really good corner, but you have Jalen Ramsey and Joey Porter Jr. for a reason. And Garrett Wilson, I'm sorry, should not be the guy lining up across from 23. It should be either number 5 or number 24 at all times. And the fact that it wasn't, I think, was an immediate like, oh, okay, yeah, you have to you have to make that adjustment. And I think that changes a lot. I think if you just adjust your game plan and probably having Justin Fields out there changes a lot because you're not solely focused on Garrett Williams because you want Jalen Ramsey to hit Justin Fields. You want him to do things like be able to go try and sack the quarterback like he did yesterday. You don't want to just play the pass, but you go against Seattle and maybe that changes because Sam Darnold's not going anywhere. He's staying around and maybe you're able to actually trail Jackson Smith and the Jigba, or maybe you're playing Minnesota and you're going JJ McCarthy, dude, whatever, man, who cares? Justin Jefferson, shut him down. That's where the priority stays. I think that changes a lot. So I do think it comes down to, the defensive line's the only part of this that I'm looking at going, you got to be better, like you have to figure this thing out. I think the other side of it is more game plan. I mean, the Steelers started in zone defense and you were going, why? Yeah, like Mike T, bro. You've been bragging all summer about manning everybody up. You're going to man up everybody in the NFL. And then you come out here in zone? Why? What are you doing?
I texted you during the first series, and I was like, we're going to man up everyone, right?
Everyone in the NFL, except for the Jets. That's the team that they chose not to man up. I think if you change that, that's fixable. Again, I think the defensive line's the only part that I worry about. And they have the pieces. This isn't a Broderick Jones situation. This isn't an offensive line situation. This is you got to be better. Keanu Benton and Cam Hayward have to be better. Wyatt Black's got to play more. Your inside linebackers got to figure it out, man. And hopefully Derek Harmon fixes some things. And again, I feel like he could. I feel like the defense could get better over time. I have way more faith in the defense than I do the offense to make the adjustments. And I have more faith in the names to make the adjustments. So, will it happen? Only time will tell, but I do sit here with some confidence that it's going to at some point during this season. All right. With that said, that's everything on our agenda. We're going to take a quick break, hear a word from our boys over at DraftKings. On the other side of it, we're going to start answering all of your questions. So make sure that you toss them in the chat. We'll be right back. What's up, AST Nation? I've teamed up with DraftKings. The next great touchdown is coming. You can bet on it. And the best way to do so is through DraftKings Sportsbook, where new customers who bet $5 get $300 instantly in bonus bets and $200 off NFL Sunday Ticket from YouTube and YouTube TV. Football season is finally here, and DraftKings Sportsbook is the place to be. For me, it's all about pregame and live game, making sure I hit every chance I have to stay in on the action. DraftKings Sportsbook is where I do it. New customers who bet $5 get $300 instantly in bonus bets and $200 off NFL Sunday Ticket from YouTube and YouTube TV. Just sign up using my promo code ALLSTEELERS and get in on the action. DraftKings Sportsbook, where all the touchdowns matter. All right. Shout out to our boys over at DraftKings. I'll give you a quick rundown. Yesterday, Darnell Washington did not score. So that was my parlay out the tube. And then at halftime, you ready for this one? I was feeling so confident in the Pittsburgh Steelers that we slapped Steelers 1.5 over under 66.5 on that bad boy. You want to know what the final score of the game was? 34-32. Yeah.
Oh, no.
Yeah. And we're over 2 to start the year, but it's all right. We're getting better. Only up from here, as they would say. With that said, let's start answering questions. If you got them, toss them in the chat. Shout out to our super chatters. Shout out to our members. We'll get to as many of them as we can before we head out of here. Want to give a special shout out to our girl, Maddie, who's back. Maddie, not going to lie to you. At the end of the month, email me, dude, because you've been around forever, and I'm going to make sure we take care of you. We appreciate you. Eddie the First gifted an All Steelers Talk membership. My dude, appreciate you as always. Let's kick it off with artisanal bully kennel. Jones looked like a cold bowl of SpaghettiOs after Thanksgiving dinner. A hard pass. Guy needs to go. Who could we make a move on? All right. So to be honest, it stinks because a team that I would call who has a ton of offensive line depth is the Cleveland Browns, and they would never in a million years give the Pittsburgh Steelers anything. Are you looking up a list right now of like guys?
Yeah, I'm trying to find anyone.
It is so tough to say, hey, this is an offensive tackle that you can go get. You don't have the guys on you. Would you give Andrus? I'm not giving Calvin Anderson a shot. I'm sorry. It's just not happening. Would you give Andrus Pete an opportunity to say, prove yourself? You know, guy's a Pro Bowler. He plays on the left side. He's been doing this. He started last season for the Raiders, who stunk. Let's make that abundantly clear. Who stunk, but maybe he could be better unless you got a different name on there. But
it just gets worse. You know what I mean? Like Andrus Pete is like probably the best case scenario for the Steelers to try right now. No, Jedrick Wills isn't playing this year, correct?
No, he's sitting out the whole year.
Injury? Yeah, right. Because he would be the quote unquote most intriguing player. So that's a no-go. Tyron Smith is 8,000 years old. He was alive during the Pleistocene era. So I don't think that's going to be very helpful for the Steelers.
No. What about this one? Okay. Shout out to John.
Brown?
What about that bad boy? Dude.
Does he still play?
Tried out for the Bears the other day. He tried out for the Chicago Bears the other day. Would you call Zack Banner?
I would. Yeah, you can't. You got to turn over every stone at this point. Like open every door and see if there's an option that fits. Like again, how can you be an all-in team and just be content to let the left side of your offensive line just sort of become a huge issue? I just don't understand how you can do that and not try to address it.
I agree. I would. Look, I don't have faith that Pete's the guy I would look at next. I'd call Zack Banner. Fine. If not, we'll see who else is available, but I don't think that anybody is. That's the toughest part is that, and things will change. You know, it's week 1, but when you look at it from a glance, there are not many out there at all. I texted you this one yesterday, but Ryan had to make sure that he reminded you on this one. Take that, Jacob, that opening drive touchdown. Shout out to, let's run through the numbers real quick, and then I'll give you the floor here. Aaron Rodgers, okay? First quarterback to throw 4 touchdowns in a game in Pittsburgh since 2020 when Chase Claypool celebrated a first down on a 2-minute drive. They lost that game. He's the first quarterback ever to throw 4 touchdowns in a new team debut ever in NFL history. He's the first quarterback to beat the team in week 1 that he started for the year prior in week 1.
Jeez.
He is the second quarterback for the Steelers since 2017 to beat a team who scored 30 points or more. The last one was Russell Wilson last year. Before that, it was 2017 with Ben. And he's the first quarterback to score an opening drive touchdown in the regular season for the Steelers since 2023. The first to do it in week 1 since 2008. That was the last time the Steelers scored an opening drive touchdown in week 1. So with that said, you had a response. You bit the bullet on that one. You were good. And look at this. History was on your side for sure. Just didn't come through. Didn't come through.
Listen, I am eager to admit when I'm wrong, especially when it comes to good things happening for the Steelers, because I think this was all. I think I made some wild claims when saying that when we talked about this last week. But I mean, yeah, I think the thing that sticks out is if Aaron Rodgers can lead this offense in such a prominent way, be so resilient and efficient, if the defense figures it out, how can they not be a Super Bowl contender? You know what I mean? It's a lot of questions still. And then there's a lot of things in between those 2 points, but man, if this is the offense that's going to emerge and be for the Pittsburgh Steelers, that's a Super Bowl offense.
I agree. That's exactly. It's a Super Bowl offense outside of Broderick Jones, and maybe you could fix it. How do you
feel about Isaiah Wynn?
I don't feel good about it. But I'd call him. That's the thing is I'd call what's the difference? You know what I mean? This isn't oh man, dude, that's a downgrade. It's not. It's a potential upgrade for former first round pick. It didn't work out, but former first round pick, I'd give him a phone call. I'd bring him in, see what happens. That's the thing is they don't have the backup that you're sitting there. It's not Dan Moore and Broderick Jones where you're going, there's no room for him. You know what I mean? It's Broderick Jones, Calvin Anderson, and Andrews Pete. Give him a phone call, and just see what happens. ND Joe, so happy we are 1-0, but it is too early in the season for me to be getting more gray hairs from stress by watching the Steelers pull off a close one. Look at I will say that yesterday was so beyond stressful, but it was also the most fun I've had watching a Steelers game in so long, because it wasn't oh man, dude, is the offense going to score for the second time in this game? Are they going to finally get a first down in the fourth quarter and pull this one out? No, this was a 34-point performance. This is a game where you're going, every moment of this is a blast. So shout out. If they're going to stress us out, you know what I mean? Stress us out in a good way. Give us a little something. You know what I mean? A little spark on this one. It was a good time. Shout out ND Joe. Shout out the Pittsburgh Steelers offense coming alive. Cody Silva, can someone tell Watt and Highsmith to quit rushing running quarterbacks? I know they only want to sack quarterbacks. They need to stay on the ends and make sure the QBs don't go around them. Their moves were not working. Yeah, I will say that the Justin Fields touchdown was all TJ Watt. That was 100% TJ. I will also say though at the same time that TJ and Alex were the best 2 defensive players on the Steelers yesterday. They were the best run defenders. They were the best pass defenders. They were the best 2 people on that team. But I agree. I think the touchdown was 100% on TJ yesterday. He bit so hard on Brees, it was crazy. There was nobody out there.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, that's maybe the one criticism you can levy against these 2 elite edge rushers for the Steelers is that when it comes to, QB options and those sorts of things, they tend to bite, they want to make the hit. But I don't understand also, if TJ Watt is going to just hit the edge and sort of explode through, why isn't then there's some sort of cover to sort of be all right, well, we know he's going to bite, so let's just make sure someone else covers the outside when that happens. But no, everybody. But if TJ Watt is biting on something, the entire defense already bit. So that's sort of the problem they ran into yesterday. But they shouldn't run into that sort of struggle much more. there's not a lot of offenses that are going to incorporate that besides the Ravens. But now you saw it kind of once firsthand in sort of preparation for it. Now you maybe have some really good tape to take and sort of build on for those upcoming matchups. So, something to learn from in week 1. Let's make it positive here, folks.
Let's
Monday
make
morning.
That's what I'm saying, dude. A little victory Monday on this one. I'm the only Steelers fan. Actually, my wife came with me for the trip, and she told me yesterday, she was like, dude, walking around, there was actually more Steelers fans than Jets fans out here. And I was like,
it looked like it on the broadcast.
It was an empty stadium. It was crazy, actually, how empty it was. Shout out to the Jets fans. Remington, we needed a new defensive coordinator. Our schemes are basic and bland. We need some creativity in the defensive mind. Your thoughts? Like, I do think that the fact that you ran zone to start that game yesterday was bonkers to me. The fact that you took forever to change that and then went back to it at times, bonkers to me. Peyton Wilson's out here saying he's the greatest coverage linebacker to ever touch a football field. Why is he playing zone? Like, what are we doing? He's the second fastest guy on your defense. Let him run with some running backs and see what happens. I think this has been a glaring issue for years. I don't think anything changes. That being said, nothing will change. The Steelers will get a new defensive coordinator, most likely next season. For this year is Mike T and TA, and they're going to keep doing what they do. And I will say that I'll toss this one. You're over under. Here's an over under. I'm going to give you 1.5 games on the season of the Steelers allowing more than 30 points. What you taking on that one?
Wait, say again. I missed it.
Over under Steelers allowing 30 or more points in a season. I'm going 1.5. 1.5 games.
Ooh. You're saying I gotta take the over. I think it's gonna happen again. I don't think that happening will erase, or limit or cap how far they could go as a defense and how much they can improve, from between now and the rest of the season. But yeah, I think there's going to be some more slip ups along the way. I think, there is something about the lack of creativity within the Steelers, like blitzing, for example, that I think does leave them slightly vulnerable to really good game planning, just sort of, and executing can sort of eliminate some of these issues. But, we saw TJ Watt switch to the right side a couple times yesterday. So that's some crazy progress for a very stubborn defense and the Pittsburgh side. So I'm hoping that they maybe keep, it's going to be slower than we really all want, but hopefully they keep incorporating a little bit of this, and maybe it leads to some more and more creativity down the line and as the season progresses. But I'm not holding out a ton of hope for that.
Yeah, I agree. 3H3. I guess I'm going to have to walk back my bold take of Bull Warren being a first ballot Pro Bowler this year, and definitely thought Caleb would be used more. I was not surprised Caleb only touched the football twice yesterday, or got 2 offensive snaps. I fully anticipated that one. He has not been in the starting game plan throughout the summer. He has been a clear third running back. I do think that's going to grow over time. And I look at it more like week 1 was a bit of a warning to be like, oh, okay, yeah, let's, there's nothing holding them back from putting him out there a little bit more. Do I expect him to take over or even look good in those reps? No, but I do think that this was okay, yeah, let's just, we got 3, might as well utilize 3 of them. And I think that changes for sure. That being said, I'm not out on Jaylen Warren yet. I'm not even close on being out on Jaylen Warren.
No, they need to give him a chance to actually be the featured back for a game and see what happens before I fully write him off.
I agree. Grayson the Ginger, after week 1, do you guys think the Steelers will win the North? Bengals look terrible on offense. Yeah, I know. Jamar Chase was my number 1 pick in my fantasy draft. And we always sweep or split with those birds. I think we go 11-6 or 12-5, not to overreact. My record prediction was 12-5. So, we're sitting pretty on that one, 1-0. I think that the Ravens giving up 41 points to the Bills does not happen. If the Steelers are giving up 30 points to the Jets and the Ravens are giving up 40 points to the Bills, I'm more concerned about the Steelers 30 than the Ravens 40. I also think that, I'm putting my money on. I remain that the Ravens are the favorites. That being said, I will say that the Steelers have not been able to compete in a shootout in years. And if Derrick Henry and Lamar Jackson are going to rush for 400 yards and they're going to score 30 points, I actually have some faith that Aaron Rodgers could do what needs to be done and pull one off. So I'm not going to say no to this. Am I confident in it? Would I predict it? No, but I'm also not going to say no. The Steelers right now, they're first in the AFC. They're first in the AFC North. Shout out the Bengals. They're tied with them, but technically, I guess the Bengals are 1-0 in the division. They hold the lead, but that's not going to last. Okay, that's I'm not worried on that one. But I do think right now I still keep the Ravens as number one.
Yeah, yes, I think they deserve that, right? For right now. But I think that defensive breakdown at the end of the game was just horrendous,
crazy
from Baltimore. And while the Steelers defense did not look good by any stretch of the imagination, there's no way to sort of manipulate or spin that. What they did do was they locked it down in the most critical moment, and they stepped up and they got that win, and they forced, that 4-and-out, and Jalen Ramsey laid the boomstick on Garrett Wilson to end the game. So when the Steelers needed the defense most, they did come through. And that's more than the Ravens defense can say after week one. So I still think they are the top team in the AFC North, the team to beat. But I think this really, after a week of, let's make a big overreaction, it's really going to be a 3-team race for, a while here until someone separates. So it's possible. It's very possible.
For sure. Adding on to that, Tasha Salad. Sports media needs to start attacking Harbaugh with the same vigor they attack Tomlin. His collapse with the talent he has is becoming epic. I did see a stat somewhere that he has the most double-digit losses over a coaching tenure officially as of last night, or tied with it, I believe. I don't disagree with that. I think for a guy who's been around for 18 years while Tomlin's been around for 19, there's a lot of talk about Tomlin being done, not that much on Harbaugh. But the difference is with ease, is that Harbaugh's won some playoff games, and Tomlin hasn't quite some time. So I think that changes a lot. But I don't disagree with that one, even in the slightest. I think that, you got to treat him fairly, and Harbaugh for sure needs a little bit more oomph behind him when it comes to the criticism. ND Joe here, Turnstile Jones needs to go. He got turned around so much he looked dizzy by the end of the game. AR is going to get hurt. It's only a matter of time. I don't think we disagree on that one. I don't think it has anything to do with, not wanting to give a first round pick a shot. I think it has everything to do with, you got a quarterback, protect him. And that is the one spot that you cannot avoid protecting him with. Shout out Turnstile Jones, man. I think
that's crazy.
Somebody needs a t-shirt that says Turnstile Jones on it, dude. That was such a classic, man. Such a classic. Nick, I sing an improv song to the tune of My Sharona every time Ben Skowronek does anything cool. And I wanted to share that with
Ben Skowronek.
Yo, that's so awesome. That's so awesome. Benny Skull, man, dude. Me or Jacob, it's one of the two. It could go both ways. It's not me texting him or him just texting me, but one of the two every time Ben Skowronek does anything. Get a text in all caps that just says Benny Sko, like every single time. God, look at dude, he's the man, bro. I hope Ben Skowronek has the nicest house in Pittsburgh, because he's gonna need it, because he's retiring a Steeler. You know what I mean? He's gonna be here for the next 10 years if he plays 10 more years in the NFL. Him and Danny, I'd be shocked if he doesn't have a room at Danny Smith's house. You know what I mean? Danny wasn't just brought him in. Shout out to Benny Skull, man. That is a dog right there. That is a dog. Grayson the Ginger, speaking of TJ, I thought he was supposed to move around the O-line some. I felt like Kim and Highsmith didn't adjust much at all, but it's only week one. I will say that I think that the Steelers are going to save that or they played us completely, but they didn't show any of that in training camp either. Like there was none of that. It was like one day and everybody's like, oh, there it is. There it is. And then you just asked about it and he constantly said like, oh yeah, it's going to happen. Like didn't happen at all in training camp. Again, one time. So I think they definitely are talking a lot more than they're actually doing. And I think TJ is going to stay on that side and Alex is going to stay on that side until they need to adjust, and then they'll adjust when needed. But to start the season, I don't anticipate, I don't think week 2 TJ is jumping to the left side. I think that this is going to be once TJ starts getting shut down, that's when the adjustment's made, unless you feel different.
I mean, I certainly I agree with you and your take on it. I want them to be more, similar to what we were talking about a couple minutes ago. I want them to be more creative with where TJ Watt lines up and on which side of the ball he's lining up on, just to keep the opposite side, to keep the offense sort of guessing and to sort of switch up matchups as they are sort of working in his favor or not. I think that they could get a little bit more production out of both Watt and Highsmith if they could just kind of do that. But I don't think it's going to happen much. I think TJ Watt is, pretty entrenched on being on his side of the ball. And if we see him move, take 10% of his snaps on the other side, I think that would honestly fit this, what the Steelers have been talking about all summer of sort of like, wait and see what we do, it'll still kind of fit the bill.
Yep, I agree. Shout out to Eddie the First on the whole, a good old wear the Benny Sco shirts. That's a great one, actually. That is a great one. But I agree. I think that, early in the season, I would anticipate much less than later in the season. Don't think I could say this name, for business purposes. But shout out to Deshawn Elliott. How much of the defensive line issues is on coaching? We got ran over in the playoffs last year and didn't change coaches. Look, I hear what everybody says. That being said, Mike Tomlin is the guy who calls the defense, not Terrell Austin. That has always been the case. It always will be the case. It'll be the case with the next guy. I don't think it's as much coaching as it is the defensive line got ran over yesterday. There were gaps. And I don't know who to put that blame on. But what I do know is that you got to figure it out. To be honest, my immediate, if Derek Harmon can't play in week 2, the first change I'm making is Y.E. Black or Daniel Ikuale starting in the middle at nose tackle and Keanu Benton starting at defensive tackle, because Isaiah Loudermilk, there's just no point in him being out on the field. And I think that changes a lot. So that would be my first adjustment in week 2.
Yeah, they have to. I can't even look at the comment. It just keeps making me laugh too much, but it's crazy. They have to. I talked about Isaiah Loudermilk on our Friday show, and it was a big opportunity for him to show that he was anything more than just a depth role player, and the truth of it is that is not the case at all. And they can't, similar to how you cannot just let this position sit and wither away while you let it get figured out. You have to make adjustments. Like, we need more Daniel Ikuale. We need more Y.A. Black on the defensive line immediately. We don't need more of Isaiah Loudermilk in the base defense in Derek Harmon's absence. We need bigger, stronger guys on the defensive line who are giving that pushback at the point of contact and line of scrimmage. So hopefully that happens against the Seahawks. And, it should be a less imposing rushing game and rushing attack from Seattle, which could hopefully only benefit the Steelers' defensive line.
I agree. What happened to Skylar Thompson? Did he get hurt? And does that open up the third string for Howard? He hurt his hamstring in practice. Don't think it opens up that's 4 weeks. If he is seriously hurt, yeah, it definitely does. But only time will tell on that one. Howard's got to be shut down for another 3 weeks before he could even return to practice. From there, we'll see what happens. But I don't think right now it opens the door, depending on the severity of the injury. Cody Silva, teams can run for 30 yards every time against the left side of our defensive line. They continue to run against the left side because we couldn't stop it. The left side no, it's not. That's Isaiah's side.
I think you're saying whatever side TJ's not on.
Yeah. And
they just don't run on his side.
No, they don't. And Highsmith's a fantastic run stuffer. Fantastic. But there's just there's a hole in the middle, you know what I mean? And he's just a guy that He doesn't work. Like, you need something in the middle there. And again, it was yesterday. That's Cam's side, man. And he was not doing it. And I'm not putting all the blame on him by no means, but you get a ridiculously bad pay bump. You got to play a little bit better than that for sure. Too many hurt at practice. Overreaction Monday. The run game won't improve all season long, and the defense won't click until after the bye week. Steelers record 13-4 take the division. I mean, I will say this for an overreaction, which I will say that is most likely walking the line of overreaction. I'll take the overreaction side of that. 13-4 taking the division on a bad defense is one hell of a way to go in this one. So I don't think it's that bad. I'm going overreaction on this. What's your thoughts?
Overreaction. Strictly on the record prediction. The first part, the run game and the defense clicking. I think that might be a just reaction Monday. I don't know if they'll get to 13 wins, but I would not be shocked if it takes a few more weeks for this defense to figure it out and to click. I would not be shocked if we are talking about the running game being not enough for the next 16 weeks of the NFL season.
Yes.
So yeah, I'm kind of with you. Call it an overreaction then, but I think those are two big old things to worry about.
For sure. Devin, Jalen Ramsey had me standing up in my living room watching the game, yelling every defensive down. He brought the violence back to Pittsburgh. I will say, dude, my favorite part of Jalen Ramsey outside of the last hit, because the last hit was awesome, was him hitting Justin Fields and having the most beautiful flop game as whoever came over to hit him, because that man acted like whoever 76 was wearing a Iron Man suit under his jersey, because he flew 4 yards backwards, and I was like, that was beautiful, dude. Shout out to Jalen for that one. He did bring the violence back. Jalen's a dog, man. You saw it instantly. The rest of the defense needs to look good, but Jalen is a dog, man. Jalen is a dog. And it's so fun to watch some violence in Pittsburgh when it comes to defensive football. Again, the defense as a whole has to look better, but it's fun to watch, and it's a different style that they haven't had in quite some time. Jared Brooks, member for 6 months. I've been meaning to ask this. I know this is a Steelers pod, but Jacob, which Fantastic Four movie was the best, 2005, 2015, or 2015? And what do you think of the offense? And do you think the offense proved it? I definitely think the offense proved it. What's your favorite Iron Man movie? Hit him with it.
Yeah. The OG, the 05 is my favorite. Love the new one. I am also repping some more Marvel gear today, as I so often do on the show. But 05 is the GOAT for me. Probably just due to nostalgia. But I loved the way the family fabric was weaved by the 2025 version. They did a really good job of capturing that first family feel. And as an avid reader of those comics, chef's kiss.
Chef's kiss. I haven't watched any of them except for the first one, but I'm a terrible movie guy, as everybody knows. Cody Silva, keeping it trucking. You owe me a shotgun to beer. I believe that's Nate, man. I believe that's Nate. Shout out our boy Nate. I don't think he's on here, but shout out that boy Nate. Darian, why did Ramsey hit GW with the backdash? Oh gosh. Because he killed him, bro. Because he actually, again, if you missed the beginning of the podcast, I was speaking to a Steelers player after the game, and I said, "Yo, what was it like standing on the sideline?" It was an offensive guy. And I said, "What was it like when Jalen hit him?" He said, "I was nervous. He died." I was like, I didn't know if he was gonna get up. I was like, that's the best action ever. Papaya salad coming in spicy this morning. Roman Wilson's first game was fire. He did not do much. Didn't expect him to do much, though, because you know what? When Benny Sko's out there doing Benny Sko things, you don't need Roman. You know what I mean? You don't need nobody else when Benny Sko's doing Benny Sko things. Shout out to good old Benny Sko. For sure. Grayson, the ginger. I'm predicting the Steelers beat Seattle 28-10 or 28-14, and then A-Rod throws 3 touchdowns. What do you boys think about this? And also, where was Mount Washington? Mount Washington played actually 26 snaps. He just didn't get involved in the passing game. I thought it was a good rotation. I thought Pat was a little bit underutilized. But again, when Benny Sko's doing Benny Sko things, you just let it happen. But Darnell was out there quite a bit. He just didn't catch a pass. I think that's okay. I think that's going to happen from time to time. My prediction was 28-10 in this game, and I was out. So I'm a little nervous to do it again. I will say my second prediction is going to have a lot more points for Seattle. Although I didn't watch. Oh, Seattle plays tonight, I'm pretty sure. So I did not watch. I'll watch that game, and then we'll see what happens. But I'll say this though: will you predict a game in the near future of them scoring less than 21 points against a team?
That feels like the baseline right now. I think the question becomes, how high of a number, how high will I go with what the Steelers defense will give up in these predictions, right? Like 28-10, 28-14. I can certainly see the Steelers putting up 28, but it seems like they might also give up 21 in this contest while they're still figuring things out. So I think it's a solid prediction there from Grayson, but we'll see if the defense can hold up their end of that bargain.
I love it. Things and stuff. Anybody get better info on Deshawn Elliott? Should we snag Peppers? I think the Steelers are okay. Elliott's probably going to miss a game or two. Looking like things are better than expected. Looked bad. If you watch the play, his knee snapped right back. Think it's okay. I don't know how much. I definitely expect him to miss a game. I don't expect him to be out long term. I think that things are going to be better. And again, we're going to see what happens, but I think things are going to be okay. Pittsburgh Hornets. Does having a special K ball extend Boswell's range, and what do you think his longest range can be? I mean, yesterday's kick could have went 65 with ease. Yep. So Chris Boswell's the GOAT, man. He's the GOAT. It's so awesome to watch. Look at the fact that we completely missed that he did not get paid. Okay. Pay the man. Hand him money right now. On the plane back, Omar should walk up to him with a bag full of $100 bills and put it in his lap and say, "This is for you to go do whatever you want." Because shout out to good old Chris Boswell. Egyptian Cobb salad, week 1 win, a lot to clean up, but hey man, what a Steelers way to win. Shout out 5. What a hit. Been on the road hunting. Missed the picnic pack and the AST fam. Hey, look, dude, hope you're enjoying good old hunting season. Catch some good, hunt some good. I don't know what it is, man. I've never gone. I shot a squirrel once. Felt terrible about it, to be honest with you. But it was delicious. So shout out, shout out, Cobb salad.
It's actually humans he's hunting. So that's the crazy thing.
He actually does that though for like a living. So it could be actually the case. Carlos, what are your thoughts on bringing Sermon or Nichols to help the run game? What is your thoughts on Trey Sermon potentially being added to the run game? I think personally go Caleb Johnson first and then, adjust from there. But I think maybe we're jumping the gun.
Yeah, I think that's a good way of putting it. I like, similar to what we talked about earlier, like they need someone who is a different skill set, maybe a different body type to sort of complement what Jaylen Warren and Kenneth Gainwell are very good at in the running game. Caleb Johnson might be the answer at some point, but I don't think if they don't get that solution from someone like a Caleb Johnson, or if they can't figure it out with Kenneth Gainwell and Jaylen Warren, I don't have a lot of confidence or faith that Trey Sermon or Lou Nichols would be able to bridge that gap and make up for it. I think the bigger issues to address are within the offensive line and how they are able to impact the rushing game rather than the actual 3 running backs on the active roster.
I agree. And again, as time goes, if nothing changes, cool, you have that conversation. But I think for right now, you see what happens. Pittsburgh Hornets, would the Steelers be open to hiring / replacing help for Pat Meyer? Well, Pat Meyer is still on the team. They actually have an assistant offensive line coach. I forget his first name, but his last name is Williams. He's very heavily involved. To be honest, I thought the offensive line outside of Broderick yesterday didn't play terrible. So the answer to this is no. The answer, unfortunately, is no. Eddie the First, can I get a shout out to Calvin Austin the Third doing for all the short kings out there? Dude, Calvin Austin played like he's 6'4" yesterday, and that man's 5'6". Shout out my guy. And let's finish it off with Dylan here. Aaron Rodgers MVP year coming. Any thoughts on Caleb Johnson's use? We talked about Caleb Johnson. We'll finish it off with this one. Full circle moment here. I mean, A-Rod's got to be in the. It's week 1 MVP conversation, but we'll overreact on a Monday. Overreaction Monday here. Aaron Rodgers is going to be in the MVP conversation this season.
Yep. I'm honestly, I'm right with you. Overreaction Monday. Here's the huge caveat: if he keeps this level of play up,
yes,
Aaron Rodgers most certainly will be an MVP candidate, finalist, possibly the winner.
Woo-hoo-hoo. Josh Allen's going to have something to say about that one, but I love it so much, and I agree. And with that said, we're heading out of here. Thank you guys so much for jumping on to another episode of All Steelers Talk on this Victory Monday, and it is a good one. Make sure to subscribe to us on YouTube, youtube.com/All Steelers Talk. Check us out anywhere you get your podcasts. And as always, find all of our work at si.com/NFL/Steelers. With that said, we'll be back tomorrow. Enjoy another beautiful day in the Berg. Peace.